Contrasting beautiful Namibia, Namibia, our country, beloved land of Savannas, golden and banner of liberty, Namibia, our country, Namibia, motherland, we love thee.
In Namibia, effective governance does not occur coincidence. It is a protocol of clarity, a clarification of roles, adherence to statutory mandates, and disciplined administrative practice. The focus of this workshop to the regional and local government operations, administration and governance is therefore not merely an academic exercise. It is foundational. It is designed to equip councillors and their officials alike with the requisite knowledge, technical understanding, and practical competencies necessary to execute their mandates effectively and efficiently and lawfully. Distinguished participants, regional and local authorities operate within a clearly defined legislative parameters, including the Regional Councils Act of 2022, Regional Act 22 of 1992, and the Local Authorities Act number 23 of 1992, among other applicable statutes and regulations. These instruments establish the separation of roles between political oversight and administrative execution. Councillors are entrusted with the policy direction, oversight and representation of the electorate. Management cadres are entrusted with operational implementation, financial management, and day-to-day administration. When these roles are respected and exercised within the proper boundaries, institutional functions with efficiency, transparency, and accountability, the execution of the duties are applicable. However, experience has shown that in many instances, there is an interference by councillors in the daily administrative operations of offices. Conversely, there are also situations where officials do not execute lawful directives or fail to implement council resolutions within the urgency and diligency that it requires. Both tendencies undermine the institutional performance of institutions. Remember, institutions rise and falls with the leadership. Political overreaction into operational matters weakens professional administration. Administrative inter alia or selective implementation erodes political authority and public trust. The result is governance paralyzes, services delivery delays, and reputational damage to the whole institution. This workshop must therefore serve as a corrective and preventative intervention. It must strengthen the mutual understanding, clarify lines of authority, reinforce accountability through mechanisms, and promote professional working relationship built on respect and constitutionalism. Ladies and gentlemen, good governance is anchored on clear delineation of roles and responsibilities, compliance with legal and financial framework, ethical leadership, transparent decision making, performance accountability. If we internalize these principles, we will not only avoid unnecessary conflicts, but also enhance service delivery to our communities. Our citizens expect improved infrastructure, access to water and sanitation, sustainable land management, sound financial stewardship, and responsive public services. They are not concerned with internal disputes between councillors, officials, and the bureaucratic processes. Their concerns are the results in advancement of their livelihood. Let this induction workshop, therefore, be characterized by open dialogue, honest reflection, and constructive engagement. Let us confront challenges candidly and commit ourselves to institutional maturity. I urge both councillors and management cadres to approach this engagement with humility and professionalism. Authority must be exercised within discipline. Administration must be conducted with competence. Oversight must be firm but lawful. Implementation must be prompt and accountable. If we get governance right, the development will follow and we will do fair service delivery. I thank you.
I got the chance to be with the governor in the holding room, and he said to me, in case I forget, please inform the councillors to spend. They should spend their SNT in Oshana. And of the deputy chairperson of the National Council, Honorable Emma Muteka. Welcome, ma'am. As I said, my job here is very simple. Before I call upon the next speaker, who happened to be the Minister of Urban and Rural Development, my boss, I wish to make some roll call so that the minister knows exactly who is here and who is going to address. Honorable Minister, with your permission, allow me to do some roll call. I want to start with Otjozondjupa Regional Council. Can we stand? Honorable councillors from Otjozondjupa Regional Council. That is Otjozondjupa, Honorable Minister. We may be seated. Commerce Regional Council. That is Commerce. We may be seated. Windhoek Municipality. Windhoek Municipality, Honorable Ministers. We may be seated. I call it G. Fontaine. I'm reading Grootfontein Municipality. That is Grootfontein. I hope they brought some water with. We may be seated. Okahanja Municipality. Okahanja. That is Okahanja, Honorable Ministers. We may be seated. Erongo Municipality. That is our host, Honorable Minister. Okakarara Town Council. is Okakarara, Town Council, Honorable Ministers. We may be seated. Otavi, Town Council. Otavi Town Council. Thank you. We may be seated. We are also joined by Erongo Regional Council, that is the chairperson of RC, the CRO, the Honorable Councillor of Swakopmund constituency, who could not attend while we were in Swakop. Thank you. I also want to recognize the presence of commissioners from the Public Service Commission. I regret the omission. Honorable Minister, Sankwasa James Sankwasa, it is now my honor to invite you to the podium. The Deputy Chairperson of the National Council, Honorable Emma Mdeka. Welcome, ma'am. As I said, my job here is very simple. Before I call upon the next speaker, who happened to be the Minister of Urban and Rural Development, my boss, I wish to make some roll call so that the Minister knows exactly who is here and who is going to address. Honorable Minister, with your permission, allow me to do some roll call. I want to start with Otjozondjupa Regional Council. Can we stand? Honorable councillors from Otjozondjupa Regional Council. That is Otjozondjupa, Honorable Minister. We may be seated. Commerce Regional Council. That is Commerce. We may be seated. Venduk Municipality. Venduk Municipality, Honorable Ministers. We may be seated. I call it G Fontaine. I'm reading Grootfontein Municipality. That is Grootfontein. I hope they brought some water with. We may be seated. Okahanja Municipality. Okahanja. That is Okahanja, Honorable Ministers. We may be seated. Erongo Municipality. That is our host, Honorable Minister. Okakarara Town Council. Okakarara. That is Okakarara Town Council, Honorable Ministers. We may be seated. Otavi Town Council. Otavi Town Council. Thank you. We may be seated. We are also joined by Erongo Regional Council, that is the chairperson of RC, the CRO, the Honorable Councillor of Swakopmund constituency, who could not attend while we were in Swakop. Thank you. I also want to recognize the presence of commissioners from the Public Service Commission. I regret the omission. Honorable Minister, Sankwasa James Sankwasa, it is now my honor to invite you to the podium.
Please be seated, colleagues. Director of Proceedings, Honorable Deputy Minister, Evelyn Kaele, Executive Director of the Ministry, esteemed governors and regional councillors here present, Chairperson of the Public Service Commission or the other Public Service Commissioners, Your Worships, the mayors of various local authorities, and that of the host town or municipality, local authority councillors and chief executive officers of the respective local authorities, staff members of the ministry and those from other ministries, invited and distinguished delegates. Let me also recognize the presence of the Deputy Chairperson of the National Council, as already recognized. Let me greet you all in my name and the dear name of God. Yes, I have to greet you in my own name and in the name of God. It is a profound privilege for me, coming from humble beginnings, to stand before you as honorable people and dignitaries in your various calibers as your appointed Minister of Urban Rural Development. Entrusted with this portfolio that sits at the very heart of Namibia's required national transformation. The place where policy meets people, where governance and expected accountability meets the ground, and where development promises made during the 2025 November elections for regional local authorities should have and must yield tangible results for the electorate. Allow me to also to congratulate and thank you all for a good job, for a job well done during the campaign that we shall do to this August House and this August training. As we proceed with duties which we were elected for, and for officials which we were appointed for, let's critically reflect. Why are you a councillor? That's paramount. Why are you a councillor as a regional local authority? If you're a CEO, why are you a CEO? A chief regional officer, why are you a chief regional officer? What development program do you have for the constituency you lead? You must have this from the beginning. And on the basis of this, I must pronounce myself that there will be a performance management agreement between my office and the office of the chairperson of the regional council, and my office and the mayors and chairperson of the village council. And therefore I expect the mayors to have a performance agreement with their COs, chairpersons of town councils to have a performance agreement with their COs. Because we want to know at the end of the day, at the end of the month, end of the year, what have we done? In this country, we've seen the culture where the president has to give a recount and account of the first 100 days in the office. It cannot only end at that level. It must be cascaded down So chairpersons, mayors, you will give also an account of 100 days in the office. You will give account. And out of that 100 days, I believe 30 days is already gone. Because we were sworn in on the 5th of December. You became chairperson and mayors. So what is left now, a few days left, better start putting your report properly. Because you have to account. Ministers were given also an account to account what they did in the first 100 days in the office. So it goes the same way, because all of us campaigned and promised the people. So let's show, so that the people can know that whether they elected us correctly or not. I take this time, therefore, to request you all henceforth, during my tenure as Minister of Urban Rural Development, we will continually interact and consult on matters regarding regional and local government, including traditional authorities, because there are 3 legs of this ministry. Secondly, I want us to appreciate that from the onset, Namibia is a unitary state, not a federal state. I want to repeat, Namibia is a unitary state, and there are characteristics of a unitary state, not a federal state. Because Article 1 of the Republic Constitution says, the Republic of Namibia is hereby established as a sovereign, secular, democratic, unitary state, founded upon the principles of democracy, the rule of law, and justice for all. That's the first article of the Republic. It is established on the rule of law. This translates into the fact that the rule of law must be respected by all parties and all citizens. Because that's what governs Namibia. We are not in a jungle, we are in a lawful state. This further becomes a legal requirement that all political leaders are duty bound to take an oath declaring to uphold, protect, and abide by the Constitution and all the laws of the Republic. So Article 1 is the basis upon which the affidavit, the declaration that you declare and take an oath is found. In the unitary state of Namibia, the executive powers of the Republic vests in Her Excellency Netumbo Nandi-Ndaitwah, the President and the Cabinet. We exercise the executive powers over the Republic of Namibia in terms of Article 27. Please read these articles. Of the Namibian Constitution, stating the executive power of the Republic shall vest, not may vest, it shall vest in the President and the Cabinet. That's Article 27, sub 2. Not in any regional or local authority council or councillor. I want to repeat, the executive power of the Republic does not rest in an individual councillor or a regional council or local authority council. It rests in the President and the Cabinet. That's the Constitution. I must emphasize that the executive power of the Republic is constitutionally provided. The clear understanding of this legal provision should be enough to remove the current notion and misunderstanding which is deliberately being created by prophets of political doom that the regional or local authority council has the executive powers to do whatever such council wants to do. This is a misplaced understanding of the Constitution and the laws to which each and every councillor takes an oath to abide by. I believe and understand that both regional and local authority councillors are misled by the provisions of Article 1 or 2, subsection 3, stating every organ of regional or local authority shall have a council and the principal governing body, freely elected in accordance with this Constitution and the Act of Parliament, referred to in Article 1, which is an executive and administration. An executive does not mean executive power. We must understand the legal terminology. Being an executive of the regional council or local authority does not mean you have executive powers. You still have political powers, but not executive. Article 102, that outlines the structures of regional local authority, states that for purposes of regional local government, Namibia shall be divided into regional and local units, which shall consist of such regions and local authorities as may be determined and defined by the Act of Parliament. So the units that you lead as local authorities are defined by the Act of Parliament. The regions that you lead are defined by the Act of Parliament. Hence, all of us as political leaders had to take an oath because of that. Because the Regional Council Act 2 of 1992, as amended, requires and stipulates the establishment of a regional council, and it requires councillors in charge of that regional council take an oath before a magistrate. Local authorities are established in terms of Act 23 of 1992 as amended. And all these provisions for these legal instruments requires that in terms of Section 9.1 of the Regional Council Act, every member of a regional council shall, not may, is preemptory, you shall, before assuming his or her duties, make and subscribe before the magistrate, referred to in Section 19, or if such member assumes his or her duties after a chairperson has been elected, the chairperson an oath. You take an oath. So that if you violate this oath, you are prosecutable. You are liable to be prosecuted because you took an oath. Where you take, I, whatever names you have, do hereby swear and solemnly and sincerely promise to be faithful to the Republic of Namibia. First, you are faithful to the Republic of Namibia. To uphold and defend the Namibian Constitution and the laws of the Republic of Namibia. And to perform my duties as a member of the Regional Council of Local Authority. For the regional local authority, diligently, honestly, fairly, to the best of my ability. Diligently, honestly, and fairly. These two legal instruments requires the minister responsible to prescribe a code of conduct for members of the councils. These codes have already been prescribed, and you are sitting with them. I hope you brought them along. Did we? We have codes of conduct which prescribes what conduct is expected from you to be in line with the oath that you took, to be in line with the laws of the Republic of Namibia. If you find yourself playing offside, don't expect to score a goal. Because the moment you're outside this code of conduct, you must know that you are playing an offside, and an offside goal is never permissible in the football game. Against this score, one of such prescribed directives is the management of official traveling for councillors, because this has become problematic, requiring prior approval of the minister. Some councillors in the last 10 months that have been in the office thought they have executive powers, which they are CEOs to travel anywhere they want. And that is still being dealt with, and it will not be left unattended to. Because either you are within the law or outside the law. Two things. Within the law, nobody worries you. But outside the law, it becomes my domain, because you have to answer to the code of conduct. Director of Proceedings, participants, ladies and gentlemen, Honorable Deputy Minister. The core value of the ministry, inclusive of all councils, highly centers on accountability and customer care as the bedrock for effective governance to achieve effective service delivery in our local and regional councils. for many reasons. Why accountability? Why effective service delivery? Why good governance? Before 26 November, all of us seated here, despite excluding staff members, were busy politicking. We're politicking, not governing. We went around with the necessary politics, with the necessary promises to the electorate. But after 26 November, when we finished writing the examination, and we are sitting here because we passed that examination, we moved to governance, not to politicking. Take the difference. You politicked before 26 November. After 26 November, you crossed over to governance. That's why when you are in the council, you are not SWAPO, you are not PDM, you are not whatever political party, you are a council. That must think correctly. You are a council. Therefore, in that council, you are not a SWAPO coordinator, you are not a PDM coordinator, you are not a party political coordinator, you are a councillor. Outside the council, go to play your politics. In council, you deliver to the citizens of this country, whether they belong to your political party or not. Whether they even just foreign nationals that are traveling, they require your service because it's governance. Let's make those two distinctions. We politicked, now we are governing. And in our governing, we must make sure that there is cancer in the country. Of corruption. And the corruption is not only in monetary terms. When you put your party first, you are corrupt. Because in this country, people don't eat politics. They need service, they need food. So avoid political corruption in councils. Deliver the services that you promised. Because there is not a single party in this country that was campaigning that said, when you elect us, we're not going to develop you. If you elect us, we're not going to render services to you. We all promised service delivery. Let's deliver it. Let's deliver it. Namibians are not asking for the impossible from us. They want what is considered fair, what is decent, for quality, dignified life, and what every citizen in a democratic nation deserves. What is that? Creation of stable jobs, the livelihood opportunities in all sectors of our economy, by ensuring that the development projects, targets, and are reserved for the Namibian people. For too long, we have witnessed the preference of foreign nationals in the name of experience or track record and the cheapest price being offered. These are the daily slogans, particularly from staff members dealing with procurement. You have this slogan that at the end of the day has no meaning. Sorry, I'm going for a commercial break. So track record and experience that we have ended up giving these projects, these tenders, to mostly companies that are foreign owned and are foreign companies, has to be addressed seriously and urgently. While experience is a welcome ideal requirement, I must point out that experience can sometimes be a very dangerous thing when it becomes obsolete or irrelevant at times. Namibia first has come, and it must be now. Namibia first. 35 years after independence. This is the 36th year. How many international companies have Namibia produced that are participating in foreign countries? How many? Let's critically ask ourselves that question as Namibians. How many companies have we produced that are participating in foreign economies versus those foreign companies that are participating here? A university degree is 3 years, you graduate. Master's 5 years, you graduate. Doctorate, in 8 years you are a doctor already, if you are at the university. 35 years you can't graduate a single company that must go and participate internationally. We are the only country that is receiving companies that have been graduated by their own respective countries. Until when should this trend continue? Staff members, COs, CROs, check your books. Because they're the people that when the politicians ask questions, you are interfering. You're interfering in politics. There is a difference between interfering and intervention. When things are not going correct in the administration, politicians have a right to intervene, not to interfere. Administrators, you have failed this country. You failed this country. Our procurement must be geared towards the very clear objective of government. It's a very clear objective. If you read section 2, subsection B of the Public Procurement Act 15 of 2015, as amended, it states, and I want to quote what the Act says, to promote, facilitate, and strengthen measures to implement the empowerment and industrialization policies of the government. What are those empowerment and industrial policies of government? 1, job creation for Namibian citizens. Because you cannot create jobs properly if you have foreign companies that employs their foreign nationals who gets permits, working permits from Home Affairs because they come over and work on a specific project. Yet we sit every day crying for unemployment. That's very high in the country. Why do we shoot ourselves in the foot? But why? The empowerment of Namibian registered small and medium enterprises. 35 years. Are you still a youth? No. We have been saying youth ends at 16, from 18 to an adult. But 35 years, how many small enterprises, companies have we developed to graduate? Can we account? Women and the youth, by creating economic opportunities for them. How many have each regional council? How many women? How many youth have you graduated? Have you economically empowered? Because this will be your report at the end of the 12 months. I want to tell you we are serious. We should pray that the president removes me from this ministry. But if I'm still here, after 12 months, every council will have to account and report to me how many women organize the companies. Have you given tenders? How many youths own the companies? Have you given tenders? You have to report. Because we have failed this country. We have failed it. The law is very clear, but the players are playing offside. So we cannot score. Preferential treatment in the allocation of procurement contracts. Preferential treatment here goes in hand with the Affirmative Action Act of 1998, where there is positive discrimination. That's what preference is all about. positive discrimination. When a foreign company is competing with a national company, you are allowed to go for positive discrimination. That's the law. Don't go for the cheapest and experienced. No. But when it comes to registered Namibian companies, we must critically take it further. Even if it's registered in Namibia, who owns this company? Not just that it's a registered Namibian company, but who is the owner of the company? You see, I have a classical example in the Zambezi region, where two companies are registered in Namibia with local names, Lwayaha. Meaning we are building. Lwayaha. It's a local name in the Zambezi region, but completely Chinese. And the name of the local name, we keep giving tenders to this Chinese company. Are we saying it's correct when some authors are saying, if you want to hide something from a black person, put it in the book? Because we don't read. It's registered, yes, but who owns it? It's a Namibian registered, Namibian owned. Because price preference that we look for in this act talks about Namibian registered, Namibian owned companies must have preference in the allocation of tenders. The small medium enterprise must have preference. So therefore, I'm appealing to chief regional officers, CEOs, that you have failed this country and you keep failing this country. As a result, politicians have difficulties to go and campaign the next election, where they will answer these questions: what have you done for us? The law is very clear. But please, let's stop playing offside until the game is over. Let's play the goal to score. Where Namibian companies are in joint ventures, which is allowed, let's monitor that joint venture. Because some companies come as a joint venture with Namibian registered company, Namibian owned companies, but before the ink dries on the contract, the Namibian company is already paid out. As a result, for 35 years, we have not managed to acquire skills, because the Namibian companies are being paid out. And the Namibian companies also lack patriotism. When they get paid out, the contract was for 50 million, they're given 10 million, you can go. They're very happy to have 10 million which they did not work for. They put a priority on money than a priority on acquisition of skills. So that when they acquire these skills, they can use the skills the next 2 years to tender on their own because they've picked up skills. But they prefer to pick money than skills. So let's monitor how that joint venture is done. We must look at the Namibian manufacturers, suppliers and contractors, and service providers. Let's encourage our citizens to be involved in manufacturing, to be involved in local production. You know, it's very disheartening to find that when you go to schools and hospitals and police and military up in the north, you find that the meat and whatever they're using there is coming from Windhoek. As if there are no local regional producers there who can produce cabbage or vegetables and whatever, who can produce eggs and supply eggs. Let us encourage our people to be at the production level than at the selling point. The Act further calls upon the government institutions to take care of people that have been economically or educationally disadvantaged by past racial discrimination laws and practices. Previously, we were discriminated, particularly as black people. Cannot shy away from that reality. We were discriminated from participating in the economy. That's why the Act says previously disadvantaged. But 35 years after independence, we are still previous. When are we going to be present? When are we going to be present? If 35 years after independence, we are still previous and disadvantaged. Previous to who? Can we start thinking critically so that we know which road to take and how to run this race? I expect to see the application of the affirmative action being taken as per the Affirmative Action Act of 1998 in procurement to address the past and the historical economic imbalance. We have talked for too long. We have been in slogans. We now need to act in this regard. Action, not talking. My grandmother told me that even if you keep telling this lady, I love you, darling, 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 darling does not become food. She will leave. She will go. Because you've been talking darling for too long. You have not acted. So we need to act. We have had programs, a budget, that could be confirmed with the executive directors here, for food for work and cash for work, to create temporary jobs to address unemployment in this country. We have that money. And it's being announced over and over that regional councils take advantage of this. Town council, municipality take advantage of this. Even if it means to clean the town streets, to clean is a temporary job. That will set aside 1 week. We keep temporary people to say, please clean the city, clean the town. It's a temporary job. They get paid. But we rejoice in swimming in this dirtiness. When people are unemployed, that we could temporarily employ. Can we do that and keep the streets clean? We have to do this provision of decent and affordable housing and security of tenure, which is the bedrock of our local authorities' duties and functions. I must hasten to say here, formalization of informal settlements in all urban areas is geared towards provision of affordable housing and security of tenure. Therefore, on this issue, we've missed the point. There are private developers in this country who comes to local authorities to buy land. Private developers. And we give them serviced land without asking a question, for who are these private developers building these houses? Is it for the lower people? Is it for the higher category of people? Who are these people targeting? They're not targeting the ultra low and the low income people. They're targeting the high class, who can buy houses for 1.5 million, 2 million, whatever, because those can afford it. Private developers. But they are building on the land that has been serviced by government. We don't even look at that. So henceforth, no local authority, you'll get this in writing in the circular directive, no local authority should give serviced land to a private developer. Not one. Henceforth. Give and service the land to a private developer. Whatever price they charge for their categories, let them charge. But service the land serviced by government budget should be reserved for the low and ultra low income people. So that you go for proper land tenure certificate. All these informal settlements and these with checks must be given their certificates. On properly demarcated land, they can build a shed there. But they can take this certificate of ownership to the bank to borrow money to build a house. For now, local authorities are even losing revenue. If you look at the number of citizens that are in the informal settlement that have got checks, who are supposed to be paying rent and tax but are not paying because they have a check, they are losing revenue. They are losing revenue. So let's get out of the current box to the new box of thinking. If you give people, each one a property in these informal settlements, they will formalize the settlements. They will pay rent and tax, pay for water, pay for services. You will still get your same revenue that you are denying yourselves these days. You'll get it. So let's start revolutionizing. I'm saying so because change comes in two forms. Either there is change through transformation, which is gradual implementation. There is a change that comes through revolution. And the change coming through revolution is got casualties. If we wanted transformational change, this country would never have been independent. Because the report that was always submitted to UN was that black people can't read themselves. They are not yet educated to read themselves. That was a continuous report. Until we say, transformational change will not yield us the independence we need. We go for revolutionary change. And the revolutionary change resulted in two casualties on both sides. But change is here. So let us embrace that change. What was wrong in Southwest Africa that we must make right in Namibia? That's a critical question. So we cannot continue on the same land tenure system that was there before independence. That you can only have a land if you have got a certificate. Let's give our people certificates for ownership. And not at a cost for free. All those informal settlements, people must get their certificate for free, as long as they're Namibian people, not foreigners. Don't go and tell me you are selling that land to them. And that land is what we are servicing through the able hands of the executive director who keeps fighting for the budget for land servicing in all local authorities. We are not servicing for private developers, I repeat. We are servicing, as government, we are servicing land for the lower and ultra lower people. Not private developers. So we need proper decent housing. Local authorities, regional councils, if you read your act properly, are required to also provide housing. They are required in terms of the law. How do you do it? It's not to write a letter to the executive director saying, we need money to come and do housing. No. It's for you to develop a proper housing plan that's marketable. You apply to the bank to get a loan. You apply through the Minister of Urban, who transmits it to the Minister of Finance. And if government studies that document and that amount was approved by the Minister of Finance. NHE also applied. I recommended it. It was approved by the Minister of Finance. They've got the money. So local authorities don't come with an excuse of saying only private developers or developers can build the house. You have a duty to build the houses. You have a duty. The local authority. Your act is very clear here. Put your house in order. Our people don't have decent accommodation because we have neglected our duties. We've neglected our duties. And the negligence of duties by a local authority is not a very good thing. Because it's tantamount to failure to perform. They fail to perform. And if you want to see the consequences of poor performance and failure to perform, go to Section 92 of your Local Authority Act. What happens when a local authority fails to perform? You'll get it there. So we expect, and I expect local authorities to move in the right direction from now. There is the issue of Nam water. Nam water is owned by the local authorities billions. Is owned by regional councils billions. It's Nam water, it's Nam power. But disturbing so, local authorities that are owing these entities billions or millions prioritize traveling. Instead of dealing with the bills that the municipality or the town council is owing, people prioritize traveling. On top of that, it's an outstanding audit. Auditing. I disapproved the traveling of some local authorities. Others heeded the disapproval and respected it. Others said we are independent. And I'll see how far that independence is going. I'm still on that case. You have to prioritize setting your accounts. That's the first thing. Secondly, government gave a directive before Sankwasa became minister of this ministry, already for town councils to go for what is called prepaid meters. And you have failed on that. Prepaid meters was intended for you to generate revenue, so that if a client comes to pay $200 to buy water for $200, you're going to say, okay, fine, we'll give you either water for $170, the $30 services the debt. But you have failed to do that. There was a government budget that was given for prepaid meters, but it's not made use of. There are some local authorities that went and they got wrong prepaid meters that lasted only 3 months. Because this was the cheapest. This was my comrade, this was my brother, this was my cousin. It's company. And as a result, last week, I got a letter from Nam Water, from Nam Power, to say they want to start cutting off the water. And when the water of the local authority is being cut off, don't run to the ministry. You need a bailout. Want to know how much have you spent on traveling first? We'll go into the books. How much have you spent on traveling? How much money have you spent on wrong things? Why you could not service this debt? Before government money is given, you will have to account for that. Because, seriously speaking, the mismanagement of the local authorities, of government entities, has led even for other SWAPO members to jump ship and form other political parties because SWAPO is seen as corrupt. That's why some SWAPO members have formed the other political parties to come and fight SWAPO, which is corrupt. But the principle here is, if your house is dirty, you don't need your neighbor to come and clean it yourself. I'm in SWAPO, you know it very well. It's not a secret. But don't mess up because you are a SWAPO member. We shall not be allowed. Because for too long the country is going down because of that approach. To say if you are a SWAPO member you can do anything. No, but no. SWAPO members will be the first one to account. Because you are the ruling party. You'll be the first one to account. We need to do the right things because we need to do the correct things in Namibia. the things that were wrong in Southwest Africa must be corrected now. I have an issue of outstanding audits, and I'm ready to. Because I've already issued a circular to that effect. If your books are not audited by the end of May, you will not receive any budget until you account. I've already sent a circular. I think some of you have received it already. For the town councils that are here, Otavi from 2015-2016, we have never received an unqualified report. All of your reports are qualified. And those are qualified reports. Qualified report, adverse for 2018-2019 is an adverse report, adverse. Then from 2020 you stopped even submitting anything. No auditing is done. Otavi. Okakarara. From 2015 disclaimer, adverse. And from 2021 you stopped even submitting anything. Oshana qualified from 2015, qualified, disclaimer, adverse, qualified, disclaimer. From 2022 you stopped submitting anything. Oshana municipality. Grootfontein, from 2015 disclaimer, adverse. From 2019 you stopped submitting anything. To date. Windhoek municipality, 2015 disclaimer, qualified. In 2020 qualified, disclaimer, and from 2023 you stopped doing anything. This is the auditor's report. I am saying therefore, colleagues, your reports must be in place before the end of May. Whether a municipality that says we don't get money from the ministry, but you still get money for projects. Regional councils. Where's that report for regional councils? Regional councils, it just I can't trace that of regional councils. Regional councils, you have to perform properly your auditing, you must be up to date. Your financial year regional council starts on the 1st of April. Before any disbursement is done in April, you must wait 24 hours to bring your books up to date. The regional councils. I gave local authorities until the end of May because their financial starts in July. But regional councils do it now because your financial starts in April. Before we start disbursing for the first quarter, every regional council must have its books up to date. Or else, there will be no money that goes there because we want to know what is happening with the money that's being sent there. What is happening there? If you can't account for it, then step aside, other people will be appointed to account for it. Because you failed. And God said, anybody who said Local Authority Act here? Can you read section 92? Because this is very serious and I come very close with it. That people are being elected, the contract for employment for CEOs are being extended, because this is a wonderful CEO who is performing but doing nothing. On what basis are you extending this contract? Who is doing the evaluation of the contract? What does section 92 say? Yes?
Section 92. If the minister is satisfied that the local authority council is unable to exercise the power and perform the duties and functions by law conferred and imposed on such council, B, on account of a report by the Auditor General, after conducting an ordinary audit or conducting an audit at the request of the minister, that the local authority council is unable to meet its financial commitments, or that no proper control is exercised over the assets and liabilities of the local authority of council, or that the council or the local authority council does not comply with the requirements of the section 14 subsection 1A in relation to the holdings of the meeting. The minister may, by the notice in writing, after having given such local authority council an opportunity to submit representations to him or her, instruct such a local authority council to take such steps in order to ratify the issues concerned within a period of time and in accordance with any details and directives as specified in the notice. Can I go to you?
Just wait there. I've given a directive to be done by the end of May. You have got it in writing. Now, if you don't respond, what happens?
Subsection 2. If the local authority council fails to comply with or adhere to an instruction under subsection authority council or any thereof as specified in the notice shall be vested in the minister. And B, remove or suspend the members of such local authority council from the office if all the powers and duties and functions of such local authority council are vested in the minister under paragraph A.
So please don't call for by-elections. I'll take over the running of that municipality. The CEO will continue, will now, from that time, the CEO will report directly to my office because there will be no council. It's not a threat, it's a fact. Namibia is very rich, but the money is being mismanaged. So we can't develop. Right now, we are increasing our borrowing capacity as a government, as a country. We are borrowing because what we have, we are mismanaging. And we have to stop and reduce the borrowing. And any Namibian who is patriotic to this country will understand the stance I'm taking. I'm not doing this for me, I'm doing it for my grandchildren. The next generation must find a proper country that will leave behind for them. We need to do that. I'm taking a stand on that. So I'm appealing to you, don't bring by-elections area. Because on the basis of the Auditor General's report, if you cannot account for the money, for the assets, because in the Auditor General's report there is the assets. Assets, they are there as movable, sometimes as immovable, which is land and whatever. How are you managing these assets? That comes from the Auditor General's report. So if you cannot answer on these things, why are we there? Why should you continue to be there? That's a fundamental question. Why should you continue to be there? Because you can't account. You're not even answering for what you promised the people. So, that is the provision that I don't want to evoke. It's not that I want to do it. But if you invite me to do it, I will do it. I did it in Katima Muliro. And if I would do that with those people that are my family, I will not fail to do it with you, not my family. Commerce Regional Council is an unqualified one. Congratulations. And that is the 2024 already audit report. You see, there is financial terminology. When you graduate, they say you are qualified, you get a certificate, isn't it? You have passed. Unfortunately, in finance, when they say you are qualified, you have failed. Only when you are unqualified, you get an unqualified report, then should you be proud that you have passed. That's the difference in terminologies. So when your report is unqualified, you pat yourself on the shoulder and done a wonderful job.
Yes.
But when it's adverse, when there is a disclaimer, you are in danger. So, Director of Proceedings, I've said my say this morning. I must state that, finally, there are citizens in this country that are owing municipalities high bills from 2019 to now. But we must understand that we had a COVID period in this country where government took a step to say, don't cut off the water from citizens because we were in an epidemic. Therefore, local authorities, please go, we'll get this circular by the end of this week in writing. You have to analyze the accounts that every citizen has got between 2019 and 2022. Take what is called age analysis in terms of finance. What was that account between those 2 years? And what account accumulated after 2022 to now? So that by virtue of the law, we can write off that account. We write it off, we remove it from the books. We start with a proper account for all citizens, particularly our elderly, our physically challenged people who needs our support much more than us needing support from them. So we need to write off this, but I cannot write it off, it's not submitted and properly accounted. So I want a proper submission in that line. That you submit to me what are the oldest accounts for that period. So that we remove it from your books. Secondly, on water bills. I gave an instruction to local authorities regarding Red Force. But the moment they received my directive, it was the councillors, it was the COs who were in the forefront to fight me. Those that are supposed to work in the interest of the citizens chose to work in the interest of the company, forgetting the citizens, because majority of them had their hands in the till. So I was the wrong person. One of the local authorities submitted when I asked for the contracts, and the minister said whatever approval. The Minister of Finance did not approve debt collection tender, approved legal services. But some local authorities use that legal services approval to get debt collection. These are two different things. And the debt collection is not only governed by the Procurement Act, it's governed by many laws. Paramount to that is the Usury Act. When they seek for that act, USURY Act, it will tell you how debt collection must be done. But we went ahead, the local authorities, they messed up. the citizens of this country. In terms of debt collection, there is nothing wrong with the local authority to enter into a contract with a company to collect debt. But you must agree, what do you as a municipality or a local authority pay this company? What is the percentage you pay for every amount that they collect for you? That's how it's done. Because the contract is between you and the debt collector. But what do? You go and violate what is called contract law. You push the company, Ready Force, to be cutting water in towns for people, to be collecting money for people. The citizens, the residents of this country do not have a contract with the debt collector. They don't have. They don't have any contract. They only have a contract with the local authority. That's contract law. They have a contract with you. When they buy a house, they come to the municipality, they complete an application form. Please connect the water, connect the electricity, I want services. That's the contract you approve and say, this is your rate. They agree. That's the contract between you and the residents as a municipality. Not between the residents and the private company. There is no contract. Why do we go and do what we are doing now? Which law are we using to punish the citizens in this country? What does the rent control ordinance say? But because, I want to repeat, I've discovered that some leaders, political leaders, have their hands in the till. Sankwasa is wrong. You choose to save the company that saves the people that are voting. So go back to your company, pay what you agreed, but remove this from the citizens. That's why I said, those that have contract with Ready Force must never renew it. Those that have not entered must never enter until we have discussed and agreed on what are the terms and conditions of the debt collection we are going to deal with. But some companies, the councillors were at the forefront to fight me. We shall never do that. Because if you do that, you are closing the tap. We cannot do that. And some of the contracts I've seen are only signed by the CEO. The law says the contract must be signed by the CEO and the chairperson of the management committee. But some contracts are only signed by the CEOs. Chairpersons are not even involved in that to sign the contract. Because that law says two must sign that contract for that contract to be valid. If you sign by one, it's not valid. Go and study your contracts. So people, you took an oath to do lawful things. I want to repeat. You took an oath to uphold the laws. So go and read the laws and see what are the laws providing. Are the laws providing what you are doing or not? If you are outside the law, correct your situation. You don't need Sankwasa to tell you these things. I'm elected, you are elected. So let's do the honorable in an honest and a fair way of dealing with our citizens. What is happening at the moment is unfair to the residents. And thirdly, when this company, private company, goes to remove the water meter, they remove the water meter, they take it. A water meter is a state property, where the state paid for it. The State Finance Act does not allow that. That state properties must be in the hands of a private company. It's unlawful and it's illegal. But I don't know whether we have studied these laws or not. And if not, what are your CEOs advising you? How competent are the CEOs to advise you correctly? Because a lot of laws here are being violated, just in the name of getting a tip from the company. Let's work for the interest of the citizens than for personal interest. In conclusion, with these few many words, I now have the honor of declaring the induction training officially open. I thank you all.
I think I'm very guilty. I think I'm very guilty because I was previously disadvantaged by being trained in Afrikaans. So as a result, I cannot summarize your speech. So having said that, I think the message is very clear. There is no need to summarize, otherwise I'll leave important things. As we said, we are having 2 sessions. The opening session is about to come to an end, and I wish to apologize. Again, when we go to our program, which I want to believe we all have, it says arrival of the mayor of Swakopmund. I think the computer direction of arrival of the mayor of Erongo. At this juncture, allow me to call upon the mayor to give us a vote of thanks. Honorable Councillor.
Good morning, everyone. How are you this morning? After the minister, you look tense. Can you relax a bit? It was too heavy. Yeah, we are in the business. Director of Proceedings, Honorable Minister of Urban and Rural Development, Honorable Sankwasa, James Sankwasa, Honorable Governor of Otjozondjupa Region, Honorable John Julius Council, I'm not sure whether we have got Honorable Deputy Minister of Urban and Rural Development here. Sorry, Honorable Deputy Minister. Yeah, my apology, Honorable Deputy Minister. Honorable Chairperson of the Otjozondjupa Regional Council, Honorable Paulus Nekundi, honorable regional councillors, local authority councillors, honorable local authority councillors and chief executive officers, distinguished facilitators and resource persons, invited guests, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. It is both an honor and a privilege for me, on behalf of Erongo municipality, to deliver this vote of thanks at this important induction training workshop. Allow me first and foremost to extend my sincere appreciation to the Ministry of Urban and Rural Development for convening this timely and highly relevant induction program. This workshop will provide newly elected leaders, senior administrators with a solid foundation in governance, leadership, legislative framework, and ethical public service elements that are critical for the effective functioning of our regional and the local authorities. We are deeply grateful, ladies and gentlemen, Honorable Minister, to the Honorable Minister of Urban and Rural Development, Honorable Sankwasa James Sankwasa, for the official opening of this workshop and for presiding over integration of newly elected regional councillors and the local authority councillors. Your leadership, Honorable Minister, your leadership, guidance, and emphasis on accountability, service delivery, developmental local government have inspired all of us to approach our mandate with renewed commitment and a clear sense of purpose. Our sincere appreciation also goes to the Honorable Governor for his warm welcome remarks and the continued support to both regional and local authorities. Your message of unity, collaboration, and people-centered development resonates strongly with all participants and set the right tone for this engagement. We further wish to acknowledge the facilitators and technical experts who will share their knowledge, expertise, and experience throughout this session. Your insight, practical examples, and guidance will equip our participants, our councillors and chief executive officers with tools that will undoubtedly strengthen governance and improve service delivery and enhance cooperation across all spheres of government. To all participants, local authority councillors, chief executive officers, regional councillors, thank you in advance for your active participation, constructive engagement, commitment to learning. The success of this workshop is a reflection of your dedication to service of our community, to serving our community with integrity and professionalism. Finally, ladies and gentlemen, to all stakeholders who worked behind the scenes, the organizing team, support staff, and the partners, for your effort will ensure the most successful hosting of this workshop here in Erongo. And for that, we are truly thankful. As we depart from this induction, may we carry forward the knowledge gained, upholding principles of good governance, work collectively to advance, to advance inclusive and sustainable development for all our people. I thank you all for your presence, your contribution, and your continued services to our nation. I thank you and may God bless you. May your stay here in Oshana be fruitful, and may you enjoy and leave the peace as the governor had already alluded. Can you leave your dollars in our beautiful town? God bless.
Administration of MURD, I think I qualify to be one of the chief advisors to the minister, and I feel there is something that I wished to hear from him that he has not said so. With his own permission, may I ask him to come back to the podium?
Small things but big things. One, in the letter of invitation that was sent for as participants, clearly stated there is no political party regalia allowed in the workshop. So I do not want anybody to attract attention or get unnecessary attention because we are putting on political regalia. I hope when we come back to our participating different venues, we will take off your political regalia because I don't even check that. But I see at the back there is one with a political regalia. Your head. So I do not want to involve law enforcement that we did before, because when you want attention, you will get embarrassment. And that's not right as a councillor that you come and demonstrate that you are against the code of conduct. No political party regalia in the workshops, because it's not a party political rally or gathering. That's one message. Number two, I'm informed through many correspondences that there are some councillors that wants to be members of the boards of directors. You can never be a board member for a company if you are a councillor. You have two choices. Resign from being a councillor and go and become a board member. But you can never have both. You can never have both. You are either a councillor or a board member, so your choice is yours. Create a vacancy on the local authority, become a board member. Or remain a councillor, that particular institution will seek for another board member, not you. Those are the two things I wanted to emphasize. No councillor becomes a board member of a private company, even a state company. Just like no minister can be a board member. If that was allowed, I would have been a board chairperson of Namibia National Housing Enterprise. That's not allowed. So those two things. No political party regalia, because you came here by invitation from the minister. Now if you are my visitor, you play by my rules. You cannot come and impose your own rules whether I visitor invited to this workshop. Or else I will disqualify you from being invited. That's what I did in Stockholm. I disqualify people, say you are not invited in my house, please stay outside, go back. And I'm capable of doing that. So I'm pleading for cooperation that such things will be. The code of conduct will be adhered to professionalism and integrity. These two words are very, very important in the code of conduct. Thank you so much, Comrade Director of Police.
Of the opening session, there are some announcements that I would like to make. As we are informed that I think our group is too big to be in one session, we are going to be separated.
You and the
Moro.